Welcome back, everyone. Riyad, Saman, and Will here.
Hello.
Money here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm present.
It's like, where am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? You can follow us on YouTube. We do appreciate the feedback. You know, one of my neighbors saw the Dan Carter interview and came up to me today and said, we were amazing interviewers, but she said his story was insane and she really appreciated us bringing it to her. I was like, wow.
It's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, so again, all of our episodes are available on YouTube, Apple, and on Spotify. And this episode's going to be fun.
If you haven't seen the Mayor Carter episode, check it out. Leave us a comment. What am I saying? We're talking about what we're talking about today?
Yeah, well, okay. Or do you want me to
No, we're going to be talking about real estate. We're going to be, that's what we do.
Yeah, we're all entrepreneurs. And I think the biggest thing we're seeing now in the media landscape constantly is the fact that cost of living, interest rates, people, renovation evictions, whatever they're called, renovictions, all these negative, some are negative, some are bad. And I think today we're just going to talk about the industry in general.
Yep.
And have a good conversation, because I think there's something that someone could take away if you're looking at buying or selling or investing, or maybe you're planning to buy a house in 5 years. This kind of information could be very useful to you. You want to ask the first question?
Yeah,
Let's jump into it.
You go ahead with the questions.
Well, thank you. I do have them in front of me.
There you go.
And the greatest part of what I do, I think, and why we all do it, is because we get to meet a diverse array of people. So when you're talking to buyers, what is the first step in the buying process? First step in buying a home.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone is told go speak to a mortgage broker and get pre-approved. But we interviewed a money coach, which I think is definitely a step before meeting a broker.
Yes.
And you can go to a mortgage broker, but if you're not in check, you're not going to get approved.
Correct.
So in my opinion, going to a money coach, or it doesn't even have to be as formal as a money coach. It could just be getting your finances in check. Right? Typically, people don't know what that means. So
what does that mean?
I mean, it means you have a good understanding of what is your net income coming in, not gross, because gross doesn't matter. Taxes get taken off. It's a big deduction.
Yep.
Knowing what your net is, knowing what your taxes are, knowing what your saving goals are, knowing your credit score. Is it good? Is it bad? Does it need to be improved?
100%. Because you might need to fix that prior to doing anything, right? So
what is a good credit score?
I think 680 to get any lender, A lender, I think it is.
Yeah, I think they say you want to be above the 670, 680 range to be looked at by one of the A lenders as you're in good standing.
How would you get that? I'm asking these questions because these are questions that people always ask.
Yeah, I mean, there's different criteria that are required, but typically you have to, you need to have credit. Right. So having credit, getting a credit card, a student loan is credit. So having access to credit, being able to utilize that credit, but not maximize that credit.
Yep.
Right. So if you have access to, call it $5,000, you don't want to be every month hitting $5,000.
Yeah. People don't realize that it's also the credit available to you and how much you utilize it. Right.
So knowing what's available to you, utilizing it, and then making sure that your payments are made regularly, and you're not waiting till the last day to make payments, because then the lenders look at that and say they don't have money. They're waiting to the last minute to make payments. So
right. Okay. So the next question then is 3 tips to increase your home buying chance. Right. So I guess all these we're talking about now when it comes to credit score and managing money and having a plan, important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to finish up that last point, it doesn't have to be as formal as a money coach, right? It just has to be formalized in the sense that you have to know what's required before you go meet a mortgage broker, because you could go to a mortgage broker and you could be already 3 steps too late. Right. If you don't have your credit, if you don't have your income, you don't have your taxes filed. So that's why a money coach from a formal sense puts everything in line. But if you don't have a money coach, or you don't want to spend money on a money coach, then, doing research on YouTube to see what's required, or just browsing the web to see, what are the steps to take in order to make sure you're financially literate to be able to make those decisions.
Yep.
What do you think?
What do you think?
That was perfect.
His answer was, yep.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was good.
Well, good. All right.
So the next question was, how do you improve your chances?
Yeah.
Right? You want to tackle that?
What do you mean? Like when you put an offer in, or
no, of having the opportunity to buy a home.
It could
'Cause
be
ma- 'cause many-
putting offer in, but also one step prior to that.
Right, because most people, like someone you're young, but when we were buying our first homes, the average home cost a lot less.
Yeah.
And, and people thought it was easy to save. It was still hard to save back then for your first home because rates are high.
Mhm.
But how do you go about, creating the opportunity for yourself to get into your first home?
Well, that's part two to what Simon was saying is after speaking to a money coach or looking at your finances, talking to a mortgage broker and see what you actually qualify for, and to a realtor too, right? To see how much, a home will actually cost in the area, right? Or where you're looking. Because right now, the biggest challenge we have is home prices have soared and salaries have made pretty much flat, right? They haven't increased as much as the home. So there's a big gap there. So understanding what you can afford is the biggest thing. Because, if you can afford 500,000, then that limits the area. Forget the type of house, just the area in general too, right?
Mhm.
So it helps you. Talking to a mortgage broker early gives you an idea of where you stand, and then talking to a realtor will give you an idea of what you can afford and where you can afford,
Right.
and then what type of products you can be looking at. Because some people, they won't be able to afford right now, So what's other options for them? So we talked about pre-con, which we probably get into a little bit later, but that could be a possible option for somebody, right? Where they can make scattered payments and save for a future unit.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add there, Mr. Numbers?
No, I think that was a great answer.
I love this question. What is the biggest deal breaker for buyers?
I mean, I think like that could be taken in different contexts, right? Like for me, like if someone's pre-approved and someone is good to go to purchase a home, let's talk about what happens when they walk into a home, right? Like if they found the perfect location and everything is good to go, but they walk into a home, to me, the biggest deal breakers are, for example, your first appearance of the home, right? If the curb appeal is not there, that right away in the buyer's mind is this could be better, or I need to spend money on this issue of the home. I find if you walk into a home, you open the door and your first thought is, oh, I smell something. That is a deal breaker.
Yes.
A lot of people, especially smoke, if you smell smoke right away when you enter the home, I think that is a big deal breaker.
Yeah, some people don't go even further than the front door. Sometimes they stop right there. Right?
I am that person.
Yeah.
I hate dumb smells in homes.
Yeah.
Your home is listed.
Yeah.
Cook. We get people eat, but you can't be cooking heavy scented items. It's not a good smell to have to walk into.
Yeah.
So I think smells are for me the biggest thing is smell, and for me at the end, a home could look okay on the inside, but it's curb appeal for me. It's so inexpensive to garden and to cut your grass and water it and just to maintain the exterior of your home. People might even forgive some things in the house if they have a good feeling going into that property.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. I think you want to walk into a home and you want to feel great. You don't want to be thinking about, oh, this is another expense, because in a market where there's so much inventory,
yes,
then if there's all these expenses, then forget it. You're moving on to the next property
exactly
until you find something nice, and you likely will because there's so much inventory to pick from.
And sometimes you pass up on a really good house just because of the way it smells.
Yeah,
it could probably be the best house for you, but because of the smell, you get turned away and you walk away from the home.
Exactly. All right. How does someone succeed in this and in any market as a buyer?
Well, I guess it's going back to what Simon said, is like doing the homework early, knowing what you can afford, knowing what areas you can afford. And, sometimes it might not be the right time to buy now. You might have to wait a little bit longer for a bigger down payment. But it also depends on the market you're in too, right? So like if you're in a seller's market, financing is huge because you might have to put a condition without financing in there, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on the market you're in. So in today's market where Simon just said like, the inventory is high, you're at an advantage as a buyer. You have a little bit more choices out there. You can take your time, not too much time because you don't know how long this will last.
This is a really good market for buyers.
So you just did a deal,
yes,
with buyers.
Yep.
And were you guys competing with others?
No. How long was the process from initial meeting to how many homes did you see roughly?
20.
Okay.
20 homes, and they chose a home that again updates. It needs every update in the house, but the house is immaculate. Was very clean. The exterior of the house looked great. And so the importance of curb appeal matters. If you can't afford to renovate your kitchen, don't. But make sure you clean out all the cupboards and wipe everything down if you're selling your home. because they just love the potential of that home. I know they can get it at a reduced amount, not competing against anyone else, negotiating on price. They can keep conditions in.
Yeah.
Right now is the time as a buyer that you can find a house, put in an offer, negotiate, have conditions that gives you more time to think about it, and then go on from there. So this is like buyers are in control right now. If you are a buyer and you're thinking about waiting until the fall, now is the time. We're filming this after Father's Day. There's over 2,000 homes on the market, freehold in Durham. There are hundreds of condos available.
Yeah, the condo market's just
Woodfield Farms in Durham right now. Now is the time to buy. You're an idiot if you think it's going to get better in the summer when rates may go down even more. Now is the best time until July 24th to buy.
Yeah, because there's no timing in the market. It's very hard to do that, right? You have to go with presently. If you're a buyer and you're qualified today, don't wait.
Right.
Start looking now because you might be able to get something that you really want now, right? If you wait and rates go down and demand goes up and people jump back in, what happens? What's the first thing that happens? Multiple offers, right?
Yep.
And if home inspections and financing clauses are important to you, this is the time to have it.
Exactly. Anything to add there?
That was good.
That's
going to be a good reel.
Oh, thank you very much. One thing about me, I'm real.
Yeah.
Cut.
Yeah. What is the biggest thing you're hearing from your clients and people about real estate, especially when it comes to buying right now?
Right now, it just people are just rate sensitive. They're keep waiting for these rates to drop. That's like the biggest challenge I have with my current buyer pool is that they're like, oh, should we wait until there's more cuts? That's probably the biggest negative. And then I have a couple of people who are diving right into it, right? But most of my buyers right now are kind of like humming and hawing, debating what to do, right? But in my opinion, and like we just said, it's probably the best time to buy.
Yes.
My biggest challenge is buyers that have to sell. That is the biggest challenge right now because you're making your decision to purchase based on taking equity from your home
the sale of the home,
rolling that into the new purchase. But there's such a big discrepancy, or there's so much risk on the sell side that when you're budgeting it, it's hard to make that budget make sense because what if that price is $100K less? What if your sale price is $100K less?
Right. So question to both of you: do you sell first or buy first right now?
Sell first.
Depends. I do believe that the market is slow enough now. If you find a house that you want, buy first. But if you have no idea what you are looking to, if you have an idea where you want to move to, and there's a lot of inventory, which there is, then you should sell first. But it's tough because selling a home now, they're saying the average days on market in Durham is 14, which is a lie. It's more like 30 days. Homes are relisted so many times that it doesn't take into effect or the number of days on market. It's probably 25 to 30 days to sell a house currently.
True. Yeah.
Where it was, during the February, it was crazy. It was a week.
And it's also very area specific too. Like we've had listings all across Durham. And there's I find Whippy's doing very well right now in terms of sales, right? But everywhere else is taking a little bit longer.
Yes. And why do you think? So what areas in the GTA do you think are best areas to buy?
Well, everywhere is pretty good right now because it's there's a lot of inventory. But for some reason in Whippy, I find things are moving a lot faster. We've had 3 listings there, and they've sold within a week and a half.
Yep.
Whereas we have a couple in Ajax that are taking a little bit longer to sell. And Oshawa, I had one for 3 months there.
Yeah.
Yeah, from an affordability perspective, like Durham region is definitely the cheapest
100%
in the GTA. Now, if you go like the Greater Horseshoe, I think you there's more affordable areas, but then it comes with the setback of distance to Toronto, to airports, to work, and so on.
But Hamilton's pretty good right now too in terms of
Hamilton and I would say Hamilton and Oshawa are comparable on a median price perspective,
right?
But
and similar type of homes too. There's a lot of those duplexes, multiplexes.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Well, let's talk about condos then. Is there opportunities now in condos
for buyers? Yes, there's so many out there.
Yeah, I would say so too. I would say if you're looking to purchase, get into the market, definitely opportunities, but not for speculation purposes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speculation purposes meaning what?
Meaning you're buying and you're hoping that prices are up in 2 years or so, and you're gonna cash out.
Right. I think in the media it's out there. There's a glut of condos available in the GTA. 30 months of inventory, something like that was a number that was thrown out this month.
Yep.
So if someone buys a condo today, it's pretty safe to say that the pricing may not go up.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the same rate as a freehold potentially.
For sure. But again, if that's all you can afford, or if you're very specific to area, like say somebody wants Toronto because they work in Toronto,
Right.
it's a great alternative, right, to get into a condo.
But yeah, so I think it's a great alternative to get into the market.
Yeah.
But now you have to kind of look at what's happening in the condo market, right? You
Right.
have all this inventory that's available for purchase, and now there's also somewhat around 40,000 units coming to market of new
Yeah.
pre-construction that's going to be completed. So you have 30 months of inventory. Now add another 45,000 units
Yeah, that's
in
crazy.
2 years.
Crazy.
So I mean, those prices are very volatile right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying if someone is looking for a condo, now is a good time to buy, but don't hope or speculate that price is going to go up at the same rate as it would in a typical market.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Next point. What is the most important thing to think about when buying? Well, want me to go first?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think for me, because I'm in my second house now, and for me the biggest thing was I thought I wanted a really big house. I grew up in a big house as a kid. I mean, I have 4 siblings, so I had a big house. But for me and my lifestyle, I like what I have currently. It's great neighbors, great community, and the house in time, because we renovated it, worked for us. And I think when you're looking at buying a house, I think people forget that you can renovate to make the house work for you. But the tip I give every buyer: wait a year, live in the house for a year, see what annoys you, then renovate it and make it work for you.
Yeah,
I like that. That is,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel that's really good advice. I'm amazing. What's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think people get caught up on, is this a forever home?
Yeah.
Am I buying my forever home? And it's, likely not, and it doesn't have to be. It could be. It doesn't have to be.
Are you in your forever home?
I think so. Yeah.
You have a great home.
Yeah. I mean, it took time to get there, but again, it's like for us, it was more so to your point, like location, neighbors, and so on. I think that the neighbor part is very important. I've lived in a home where neighbors were not great.
Yep. Same.
And like that was the ultimate reason to sell.
I had neighbors in my townhouse who thought I was a drug dealer, and true story. The cops came in because I was young. I was in my 20s and I had my house, and we had people over.
All the time.
All the time. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm too fat to be a drug dealer. But the cops would come in one Saturday morning at like 8 a.m. and check if I was growing anything in my basement. And he said, your neighbor has called us every single day. Nicest lady, but just not all there. And
Wow.
and yeah, they were the ones that they're just terrible neighbors to have. Not very cleanly, not very and I like to wake up and look out my window and see that people care about their lawns. I'm weird about that.
No, it's huge. It's a huge thing.
I'm an old person. I sit there at my grass right now. Keep it down. It's hot outside. And my grass is cut short. I like my grass cut like a golf course. I don't want long, weedy looking grass like your grass looked in that photo you sent to me today. I want nice, short grass so I can walk on it without my shoes or my shoes, whatever. And it just looks nice and clean. I just like when people take care of their homes.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you live in a great area where you see that all the time. What are your thoughts, Sarah, mister?
So usually when I meet a buyer, money aside, like not, forget about budget. I always ask them what's important to you as a family or as a couple or a single person. What do you do on a daily? What do you do in the evenings? What do you do in the weekends? And that's kind of what I use as a guidance as, what areas they should go in. Because I go all over in Ontario for real estate. So I kind of have an idea. So they tell, hey,
I needs a PJ.
I know.
Yeah. So say they go, hey, I like being by the waterfront. Then there's different areas better for waterfront. Or if I like to hike, there's different areas for hiking, right? So I kind of look at what their lifestyle is like. If they say, hey, I commute a lot, then maybe going to a GO train to get downtown or wherever they need to be is where they need to focus on. And then obviously you bring in price because that's going to dictate a lot as well, right? But usually it's just their lifestyles, what they do.
That's pretty good. So let's talk about sellers quickly.
Yes.
3 home selling tips to increase the value of your property. I love this one because it's very subjective. Very, very subjective.
So for me, we always talk about kitchen and bathrooms are usually the biggest.
Do big ticket items and small ticket items.
Yeah, so big
if someone
ticket
has budget or no budget.
So with budget, for sure, kitchens and bathrooms. So that's probably the number one selling features, and floors. If you go low, paint. I think paint goes the biggest way because everybody has these accent walls or they maybe they haven't touched their baseboards in a while. So paint goes a long way. Flooring, you can do vinyl flooring for a decent price, or even carpet. So that and landscaping. Landscaping helps. That initial impression when you go up to a front door is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, I agree. I have to unfortunately agree with Riyadh on this one.
I'm 1 for 1 today. No.
That's wonderful.
I think yeah, maybe just like on the you made good points about the big ticket items, but on the small ticket items, I think um checking for consistency in your lights.
About to
You
say,
don't have a you
lighting,
don't want to
yeah,
have
yeah.
a yellow light and a white light,
Yes.
right? Consistency of your lights. Are all your pot lights working? Even the consistency of your hardware throughout the home. Cutting the grass,
Yeah.
just things like cleaning, hiring a
Yes.
professional cleaner to come and clean the home,
That's huge. Yeah.
doing window cleaning, window
Yes.
washing. People don't typically hire someone to wash their window. They just do it from the inside. But
Right.
but doing it from the outside does have a big impact, and people do notice and people do talk about it. Even things like washing your driveway or even getting your driveway sealed. It's
Yeah.
not a big expense,
Right.
but it does make the house pop.
It does.
Yeah.
But
And I also
totally-
like to do like gardening, just buying like flowers that you just leave in different spots.
Yes.
Those
Like you said, like baskets.
Yeah,
Well, that's
exactly.
the-
That's
if
like
you were
a
a
$30,
late-
$40
yeah.
investment. Right
one,
there, yeah.
one other
Oh no.
smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just something light, like air fresheners at the beginning or, whatever it is, just because we just had a house. Remember, we literally put a air freshener as soon as you walked in the door, right? So
Yeah, my thing, I think I'm weird though. I'm not I look at things like if you look at that cupboard there, and little nicks and scratch should be also addressed. Any kind of wear, like if you have like, banged up, baseboards or a nick and those little touch-ups too go a long way in adding value and showing people that you care about the home.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, but every point you guys mentioned makes sense. 3 turnoffs when viewing a home. I love this one.
oh wait, so like smell, not clean, like what I mean, like Simon's point, cleaning goes a long way. Like a professional clean goes a long way. And one thing that irritates me is beds that are not made. I don't know, it just drives me
Mhm.
crazy.
Unmade on a short
Yeah, it
list,
drives me nuts. I don't know. For me personally, it drives me crazy.
It's owner occupied, yeah. If
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
owner occupied. So yeah, so I mean, man, yeah, if you're a seller, like you wanna make sure that at a bare minimum, you're out of the home for
Oh, yes,
showings.
yes.
Like that
That's
is
huge.
for me,
Yeah.
you need to be out so people can walk the house freely, talk about it freely, and let them feel comfortable in the
Yeah.
home. The other thing I don't like is when there's pets in the house, unoccupied. You walk into a room and there's just a cat there looking at you. That's scary, man.
or a dog that they say
Yeah.
it's friendly,
Yeah.
and it's barking at you or following everywhere you go. So yeah, I've had that.
And a lot of people have pets. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's just, either most people do say that there's a pet in the home,
Mhm.
but it's when the pet is following you around
Right.
and you just feel uncomfortable. You have to always like check to make
Do
sure.
you like pets?
I don't mind them, but we don't have any pets.
Will you ever get a pet?
I don't think so.
Not at all. No one's ever asked for a pet.
Not yet. He's not old enough.
Interesting. I might put that in his ear.
Don't.
I think I just- hey, come here, buddy. Here's a candy bar, and ask your dad for a pet. That's what I'm going to do. I think.
Goldfish.
Okay, your turnoffs.
So my turn off 100% is smell. Smell.
Mhm.
And cleanliness in the home. No home's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
The home's going to be renovated.
Temperature sometimes.
Yes.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
On,
really-
on, on days like today,
Yes.
oh man, you better have
Mhm.
AC on.
AC on.
Yeah.
But for me, it really is just the smell
No.
and the house needs to just look cared for.
Yeah.
And so, if you can't make your bed, then I'm concerned that there's other issues in the house, right? Like it's everything. If you can't, clean your appliance. I don't know. The house just needs to look not. I mean, it's lived in, but not lived in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's like going to IKEA. You want to just feel like you can go roam free in the home and everything will work out for you. That's just me. But everything else you guys mentioned makes sense. Our best renovations to increase home value. We've talked about it.
Yes. Yeah.
And then how do you succeed in this current market as a seller?
I think it is making sure everything is done. So when I say everything from pre getting your home on the market, while you're on the market, pre making sure that everything that needs to be addressed, like what we spoke about, the little renovations, the big renovations, the cleaning, all that's done. And then when you're about to go onto market, I think nothing left unturned, right? So your home is staged, your home is clean professionally. Your photos are perfect. You do everything that you can from a media perspective. So whether that's photos, videos, 3D tour, floor plans, making sure you've done everything right. Because the worst thing that can happen is you go to market, the house is not selling,
Mhm.
and then your clients say, well, maybe we should have staged the house. or maybe we should have had more videos,
Yeah.
or maybe we should have had, videos about the community,
Yes.
right? So at that point, if your client starts having those conversations with you, you didn't do
You
everything.
didn't do your job.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, same thing. Like everything he said, and then while it's listed is number one is availability. Make sure you can see the property. Nothing's worse than 24 hours notice or it can't
Yep.
show between Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Making the home available. And to pricing, you want to make sure your pricing is very important in today's market.
It is.
And we had that conversation.
Now, what are your thoughts as we're all gonna have different answers here?
Yeah, so it's specific to the area and what's happening in the area. Like you can't just say a blanket statement. Oh, price low, price high.
I'm gonna make a statement. Price it properly. Bidding wars are not gonna get you the answers that you want right now.
Yeah, it depends on the area, right?
I don't.
I've sold in Vaughan, and Vaughan I priced low and I got what I wanted.
Right, but in the GTA, primarily right now, most properties that are having bidding wars, maybe I'm wrong, are not getting the outcome they want in the realist.
Depends where though. It all depends.
I've not seen one in the last month that has hit the number it wants without being realistic and then selling for a bit more later on.
Yeah, I think generally, I think that's
it's a general statement.
Safe statement for this market.
For right now.
It's safe for Durham if 100%.
So are you saying I'm correct, Riyadh?
Market specific.
I see someone. I would just want to hear him say that I am right.
No, because I go everywhere. It's depending on an area.
Yeah. So I mean, the recommendation in February was, price it low.
Yeah.
You'll get the number you want. But right now, when you have over 2,000 homes plus condos for sale, people have choice.
But this is what's happening, right? So there's a lot of housing in Canada is a national sport, pretty much.
It is.
There's policy changes that happen. So from February till now, there's been policy changes that are forcing people to, enter the market. So like in February, perfect.
Yeah.
But now, since February till now, inventory's up almost 100%.
Yes.
So the same
Double.
thing doesn't apply, right?
Yes.
So it's very time specific. So that's why I used to hate it when people said, when's the best time to list? It's like yesterday, right?
And I think if you have a good product, your house will sell.
Yeah, it just takes more time.
I think if I sold my house, that's okay, it's small. It will sell. It's been maintained. If you are a good homeowner, you can declutter and get yourself organized. I think your home can sell in any market. Yeah. It's just those homes that require a bit of work. And like we just had an estate sale in Whitby. We sold a house last week. The house showed okay, better than I thought. It showed very well online, but the house needs work, right? And they knew that, and it was how the house was priced at a level where people knew, okay, fine, was it fully renovated in Whitby to be $1 million? You price it below 900, it's sold. Right. So I think as long as you get those discussions with your clients and your sellers and everyone else, and also for people that are out there in the media, as realtors, our goal is we don't have any control over policy. We're just providing advice based on stats that we get from homes that are sold.
Yep.
That's all. And that's how we base everything. And right now in this market, it's a buyer's market. And if you're a seller, you need to make sure you have the best product out there to stand out.
Said it best.
Thank you. Let's see. Tips to stand out. We've talked about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Biggest mistakes, which is
Selling. For selling.
For selling.
It's pricing. Pricing is the hardest thing, right? And you learn as data comes available, right? So if you, like you said earlier, if you underprice, you can set yourself up for failure because, it won't sell for what you want it to. But I think having that clear understanding what the seller wants, it helps you with pricing. So if a seller wanted 800,000 for a house, say, you got to look at what last few sales are. If everybody's pricing lower, this is my opinion. If the last recent sales are all priced lower and they're getting 800,000, I would still price lower and get the 800,000.
That's you though. That's you.
Yeah, that's how I look at it because you're going with what people expect in that area.
And I appreciate that.
But if everybody's pricing it at market and they're getting 800,000, I'll price it at market and price it at 800,000, right? So it depends on the area and what you actually want. Like if they want 950,000, everything's selling for 8, yeah, it's gonna be tough, right?
True.
I think it also depends on people's timing and how much time they have. If it's a very, if they don't have time and they need to get on the market and sell. So my clients, for example, who purchased and have to sell, right? You don't have time. So you don't have the ability to try and score the highest price, right? Price shouldn't be your priority.
Right.
It's selling the home.
Selling the home should be your priority. So which means price has to be correct.
Yes.
And when it's not, then it ends up sitting, right? So in our listing presentation, we have that graph where we show days on market and pretty much the activity drops after day 7, 8. So like if you're not, and that probably needs to be fixed up to account for longer days on market, but generally after 1 or 2 weeks starts to drop off and
does.
your price is off.
Perfect. Are there any opportunities in pre-construction? I know this is someone's favorite thing.
So it's hit or miss, right? Like when the market was hot, everybody pushed pre-con, right? Because they're lining up, the market was going up. You buy today at 700,000, and in 2 years it closes at 900,000. That's what people sold, right? They sold assignments. But what happened? Rates went up, and people got hit hard because prices didn't go up. They weren't appraising. Do I see is there value in pre-con? I do think that if that's your only way of entering the market, it could be. So, for example, say you wanted to buy in Toronto and you couldn't afford at 700,000, but you can get a pre-con at 700,000 today, but it's closing in 3 years, and you can scatter your payments. It might be an option for you. The only challenge is that if rates or anything fall, but you do need a reputable builder. You need to know, like there's some builders that actually finish on time. They don't have interim occupancy; they go straight to final occupancy. So you got to look at that homework. I wouldn't do smaller builders or no one who's not North American based. So you got to look at all that too, right? But I think there is value in pre-con because obviously people still do it.
What are your thoughts, Simon? Because I know you have thoughts.
Yeah, listen, I've listened to the pros and cons of pre-con. If somebody came to you, would you buy pre-con for an investment purpose? Obviously, depending where and what the cost is, because then I'll look at what the real estate market's doing, right? So you have to look at. But if your only option as a first time home buyer is a pre-con, then that might be an option for them, right?
Yeah, I think the problem with that is that right now in the pre-construction space, you can go to pretty much any project, and if you're looking at phase 2, there's likely cheaper built units available for purchase than what the pre-construction is selling for. So for example, like the UC Towers in Oshawa,
right,
they just did a launch, and a 1-bedroom was being sold pre-con for 5 something, but then a ready one was ready for like 460, 470. So at that point you say, well, why are you going to go buy pre-construction?
Yeah, and then also it's pre-con plus tax.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly. So
so it's a case by case basis. But what I mean is, if you don't have the money today to get a qualified, but say you got your first job and you need a 2-year average, or you're self-employed, it gives you the option. That's the only time it might be okay.
The only problem is if that value drops. So if you don't have money to begin with and the value drops, then you probably need a second or third job.
So if you're a buyer, though, there is opportunity in pre-con, but of things that are for sale now on the market now.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. But I don't think pre-construction. I personally don't think right now going to a builder to buy pre-construction is the way to do it.
Okay.
When there are ready properties.
Yeah. So if you can find a comparable that's ready, 100%. But I mean, there's some things there isn't.
Yeah.
And it could be an option because right now builders are hurting us, right? So what are they doing? They're throwing out huge incentives.
Well, that's the other problem is the incentive. I mean, for us, it's fine. Like the incentives is fine, right? Like Pickering is offering 10% commission. Like
no, not for the buyer, not for the agent. I'm talking for the buyer.
No, but this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that pre-construction.
You want that to be out there supposed to be paid 10% commission on a project in Pickering?
You can give that to the buyer, obviously.
You can, but most people aren't going to. Like there's 10%, and there's projects where they're given a $120,000 bonus.
Right? Yeah, remember that when we went to
So like I mean, in those scenarios, and this is the other thing that's wrong with pre-construction is that unlike resale, in resale everyone knows what the commission is. You sign for it on the listing agreement, and you sign for it on the purchase.
Yeah.
Whereas on pre-construction, the end user doesn't know what the commission rate is. Mm-hmm. So which is why I think that's when you have the what is it called? The motive of the salesperson changes, because I don't think you're necessarily going after the right project versus going after what's going to pay you the biggest commission check, right?
Yeah. Yes. And there's never any greedy people out there. One thing.
Yes.
like I've always bought pre-con for a lot of my investments.
Right.
And sometimes I've never had the project go negative, like lose money on it, but it's been exactly the same as when I bought it 2 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
Yeah. So again, it all depends on the person, I would say.
I think so too. Like the reason why I've been able to kind of like move my home, like my personal from a town to a detached, is because I purchased pre-construction, but I also purchased it when it made sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I was to do it all over again, I couldn't do it today.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's tougher. It's tough right now.
Yeah.
But again, if you're a buyer and you see something that's a couple years old or new, look at it because it's great. Thank you, Joe. So I thought you were going to say, because the clock's behind your head, and I was like, I think we've been going for about 30 minutes. I could be wrong. All right, we're almost done here. couple more points. Let's talk about the capital gains thing.
Yeah.
And we want Mr. I know we're not numbers here. This RDR Group Real Estate team here. You want to talk to me about events and restaurants and great things? Talk to me. You want to talk about great food and where to get good food throughout the world? Talk to Riyadh. We'll talk to someone about calculators and reading books and trying to add things up. Saman is numbers. So Saman, talk to us about the capital gains change that what got passed last week.
Well, thank you for that introduction.
Well, anything for you, my friend.
No, I mean, capital gains, I think, is a very touchy subject here in Canada.
Yes.
And I think it all just goes back to real estate being, as part of everyone's retirement plan. Like everyone banks on real estate being that one asset that's always growing and always, giving them returns. On your principal residence, it's tax-free, which is great. On investment properties, it's supposed to be, you're supposed to have a capital gains exemption, which means that any profits you have are only taxed at 50%, right? So that's been the golden rule in Canada. And it's worked out great because when you look at your income's taxed at 100%, whereas your capital gains are only taxed at 50%. So it's, in fact, the people hate it, but it's in fact the cheapest tax that you can pay on investment properties because it's not being taxed at 100%. Now, people are getting mad because that 50% is now going up to 66%.
Correct.
So people are saying, no, we already pay enough tax. We don't want to pay more tax. So this is where it's starting to become very controversial because people have been used to real estate climbing so much, prices climbing so much, and people being able to, cash out these big returns at 50% returns. But now that's changing because of, running deficits and so on, and the government needs more money. So, is it still the cheapest tax that you can pay on your on your investments in Canada? It is, because it's still not being taxed at 100%, but people still don't like it. So on your first, 250K, it's at 50%. Right. But anything over and above that inclusion rate is now going to be 66%. So,
and you can't avoid that?
You can't avoid that. No.
And the bill's final passed?
I don't know if it's, it's coming up.
I believe it's done.
Yeah.
I believe.
I keep hearing.
I know. I believe the NDP that, Jagmeet Singh this once, his pension, whatever they're saying. But no, he supported the Liberals last week. I think it did get passed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we're wrong, we'll put a disclaimer.
Yes.
But I believe it's right. And then the last thing, you want to add anything to there, Mr.?
Nope.
I'm adding nothing. Mr. Smart, I love someone for his mind. He's Mr. Accountant. He's such a good person to work with. If you're looking for someone to talk about investment properties, he is that guy. Last question. Saman might know the answer to this, but I'll also try Mr. Pink Shirt. What is the number one driver of pricing in real estate?
Right now, I would say it's demand.
Your thoughts on that?
I mean, prices going down has been interest rates. I think interest rates went up, prices came down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, if you look at the course, it's usually demand.
Yeah, supply and demand. I think supply and demand, I'd say that the right answer is probably supply and demand. Yeah. But then you have to say, what does supply mean and what does demand mean?
Yes.
But we had this conversation the other day, and I told you anything that's, and this is my opinion, anything that's for sale, any product out there, one thing determines it. It's supply and demand. Now there's factors that affect supply and demand, but that's where it is, right? If you have low supply, high demand, you're going to have high prices, right? That's just the way it works.
Yeah, and I think it's unfortunately it's very complicated in Canada because your demand, what the media tells you is that demand is immigration, right? Immigrants coming to Canada, 500,000 immigrants, they need houses to live in,
right?
But then demand also means, sure, you have immigrants, but do they have income? Do they have credit? Can they qualify?
Yeah, because you need to be, PRs to get.
Exactly, yeah,
right?
And there's different policies now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's supply and demand, long story short, but supply means one thing and demand means one thing. And within each of those supply and demand, there's like 4 or 5 factors that can affect it, right?
Yeah.
So,
wow,
that's another episode.
Yeah, it is, because we only got to like half of our questions. Thank you. Well, why am I thanking you guys?
You're welcome, Will.
Thank you guys for sitting here for 34 minutes. How long has it been? Like 34 minutes? A long time. Talking about real estate. Again, real estate is really a very subjective issue out there. Everyone has their opinions about it. it's important if you're a buyer or a seller or whatever that you talk to people. And I'm not going to brag here, but our team's pretty good. We have all different perspectives. We've been in the industry for a very long time, but it's important to get opinions because, again, the media is misleading you to think that the market is one way when it's something else. And right now, if you're a buyer, the opportunity is now to buy something before rates come down and the market becomes crazy again. So again, thank you, friends.
Thank you.
For
Yes.
sitting here.
Thank you.
And again, follow us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Thank you, Joseph, Mr. Stewart. Got his last name for a second.
Mr. Producer.
Mr. Producer.
The producer, that's it.
And this new setup is going to be a thing now. I think I'm going to be here for a while. I don't mind. This basement's not used. It's summer. Like, I'm never inside. So it makes perfect sense. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.